Hello, my friends. Hello, and welcome once again to stately Vaughn Manor, where Roger and I have returned because it's Wednesday. That means it's Epic Comic Book Wednesday. Every Wednesday, usually, I'll talk about a certain comic book, graphic novel, or comic book subject. And today, Roger and I are doing a little update on the DC Finest series. I'm going to talk about the DC Finest volumes that have shown up since the last time I talked about them. I thought, since I'm getting all of these books, I'll just do an update every month or two to talk about some of the books that have come out. And there are 3 of them that have come out since the last time I've talked about this series, the DC Finest series, where they're reprinting a lot of their great old stuff in these big paperback volumes. They're kind of their answer to Marvel's Epic collections. And it's a great series. I love it. And I'm excited about all of the new DC Finest volumes that are coming out. Particularly this one. This is Aquaman, King of Atlantis, which has Silver Age Aquaman stories in it. And I've been looking forward to this because a while ago, DC announced that they were putting out a Silver Age Aquaman omnibus, a big omnibus volume of all the Silver Age Aquaman stories. And then they canceled it because their reprint program really sucked. It's doing better, obviously, but it did suck. So I never got that omnibus, but now it looks like they are going to be reprinting a lot of that stuff, starting with this. And I was also really interested in getting this volume because I already had this. This is the Showcase Presents volume from their old Showcase Presents series when they had all of the stories printed in glorious black and white. And this also presents Silver Age Aquaman. And so I was wondering if these 2 volumes would have the same table of contents. They do reproduce the same cover, so I figured they were probably going to be the same. They are a little different, though. This volume starts a little earlier. This volume starts in 1956 with Adventure Comics 229. Doesn't go quite as far as this one does. This one goes a little farther, starts later. This one starts in 1959 with Adventure Comics 260. And it goes all the way up to, it looks like, Aquaman number 6. I think this one goes up to Aquaman number 3. When Aquaman got his own series. Yeah, Aquaman number 3. So it's pretty awesome. So Aquaman is a character that had been around since the golden age of comics. He's one of the few DC superheroes that survived the golden age, survived the 1950s, and, was continuously published. I think the only characters that were Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and I think Green Arrow. I think Green Arrow was published all that time, too. Aquaman did not have his own comic book all of that time. Aquaman was usually a backup feature. In this volume, for example, he's in Adventure Comics. I think he was in Showcase Presents. He was in Action Comics. He was in Detective Comics. And so he was a backup feature kind of bouncing all around different comics until he finally got his own Aquaman series. I don't remember that it lasted particularly long. But Aquaman is one of those characters, his main comic book has kind of come and gone. He'll be published for a while. Aquaman will be canceled. Aquaman will come back. But this has all of his 1950s stuff in it. This has, well, not all of it. It starts in 1957 and goes up to 1962. So it's got a few years of Aquaman in it. And most of these stories are just short little adventures of Aquaman. Short little fun Silver Age adventures of Aquaman. You've got Aqualad there. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this. These stories I haven't actually read before, even though I've had the Aquaman Showcase volumes. There were 3 of them. and I've had these for years. I never got around to reading them, so I'm finally going to get around to reading these. I am also interested to see if they ever publish the Golden Age Aquaman, which I would love to see because I've never read any of those. I've never even seen those. And I don't even know if those have been reprinted anywhere, to be honest. I was watching Andrew Buckle over Andrew Buckle Book Reviews. He reviewed this book recently. And he mentioned that he doesn't know that they'll ever publish the Golden Age Aquaman because there were not enough Golden Age stories to fill a volume of this size. But the cool thing about the DC Finest is that they're not publishing stories by era, you know. And the dates on when the Golden Age started and when the Golden Age ended and when the Silver Age started and ended, those dates are a little fuzzy. You know, we usually date the Silver Age to starting when the Flash showed up, the revamped new version of the Flash from the 60s. But it depends on the character. With Superman, his Silver Age started a little earlier. So you could just do a volume of Golden Age stories going into the Silver Age. And I think that's probably what DC Finest will eventually do if DC Finest continues, which I hope they do because it's fantastic. So this is Aquaman. I'm really looking forward to that. We also got something really cool, which is Supergirl. It's Supergirl. I love Supergirl. And these are the first stories of Supergirl when she first showed up in Action Comics. So that's pretty cool. And that was her official beginning. We have a little advertisement here, advertising the Girl of Steel. So that's cool. And these stories, these Silver Age Supergirl stories, they were reprinted in an omnibus a few years ago. I think there might be two volumes of Supergirl. I'm not sure. But I don't have those omnibuses for some reason. But now I have this. So that's awesome. I've always liked Supergirl. This has Supergirl stories from 1959 to 1962. They don't have volume numbers, you know, but they do have the years on the back and on the side. So Supergirl proved to be a very popular character and one of DC's popular characters throughout the years who they inexplicably murdered back in the 80s during Crisis, which I never understood. Why would you kill a character like Supergirl? Supergirl, you know, once she got past the 60s and into the 70s, they started mistreating Supergirl. They gave her bad costumes. She had some interesting costumes, interesting fashion choices for Supergirl. Supergirl seems to be back to stay, I think, at this point. I think they're even talking about doing a Supergirl movie. They had that TV show for a while. So that's cool. But these are just some awesome old Silver Age stories. Silver Age Superman is my favorite era for Superman. And Supergirl is a pretty big part of the Superman mythos. And again, a bunch of Silver Age stories that I haven't read before. So that's excellent. That's the wonderful thing about these DC Finest volumes. Finally reprinting a bunch of these stories. Like I said, these have been reprinted before. But I'm assuming that if the line continues, we'll get a bunch of Supergirl stuff that hasn't been reprinted before. So that's Supergirl. And then we have Green Arrow. This is Green Arrow, the Longbow Hunters. So this is really cool. This has Green Arrow stories from back in 87 and 1988. And the Longbow Hunters by Mike Grell, this put Green Arrow back on the map. It was a mini-series. Let me see. They got to reproduce the cover, right? Yeah, it was a mini-series that came out that was very dark, very violent. And the artwork is really awesome. It was just a really cool mini-series. And it proved to be so popular that Green Arrow got his own comic book series, which he hadn't had, I don't think, at that point. It's been a while since I read these stories. I haven't read The Longbow Hunters really since, I guess, 1987. I guess that's how long it's been. And what was it, 4 issues? I think it was a 4-issue series. It'll probably tell me somewhere. Actually, it was a 3-issue series. And then this also has the first 8 issues of Green Arrow, Volume 2, the second volume of Green Arrow. And we also have random issues like this has The Question. So any story that has Green Arrow in it during this time is going to be in this volume. This is really cool. This was an interesting time for Green Arrow. Dark stories, and these are kind of the stories that shaped Green Arrow into the character that he is today, where he took a darker turn. I guess he kind of did that when he was hanging out with Green Lantern in those stories. But this definitely took him in a darker direction. And they were good. I remember them being really good. But again, these are stories I have not read for years and years. These have been reprinted a few times. They were reprinted in a series of trade paperbacks. They were reprinted fairly recently in an omnibus volume. So, you know, these stories are not scarce. You could find these in other places, but it's a logical place to start if you're going to reprint Green Arrow, because it's a good starting point if you're unfamiliar with the character. I don't actually have too much Green Arrow. I've got this. I realized I have the Golden Age Green Arrow Omnibus, which I forgot I got. And so I have that, and I should read that one of these days. I mean, Green Arrow is a character that kind of started off, you know, as he kind of started off as a low rent Batman. You know, he was a kind of a Batman knockoff in a way, in that he had the Arrow car, he had Speedy. They were basically kind of Batmanish stories when he first showed up, it looked like. Only he used arrows instead of batarangs, you know. But he really became his own character over the years. And this is, like I said, an excellent place to start if you want to read Green Arrow. So there's this. I highly recommend it, because from what I remember, it was good. But again, it's been a while since I read this. When did this come out? This came out in 1987, so I was 16. I was 16 when I read this. I might view this a little differently now. So once I read it, I'll talk about it. But yeah, Green Arrow came out, and I don't think we have any more DC Finest volumes coming out before the end of the month. In fact, I'm pretty sure we don't. I'll probably do another one of these videos next month, tell you all the other stuff that comes out. But for now, yeah, we've got these. Okay, guys, I will catch you next time.